The thing about being a guest is that, how can I say this? There are two sides to the same coin. Being a guest helps you to build visibility, authority, and credibility. And that also, you also get the same results when you launch your podcast. The truth is, you don't need to be famous to be featured. You just need to be focused. Write that one. You got to be focused. Well, hi there, my friends. Welcome to the training. My name is Aldreama Harper. I'm a podcast launch strategist and efficiency architect, and I'm also the host of the Organizedpreneur podcast. So I want to thank you for joining me today. This is a very, very special recording because today I'm answering your questions that you submitted when you registered for the masterclass. And so I'm very excited about this because this answers your question. This is what you wanted to know, right? So I'm super excited. Real questions that came from the listeners and registrants who all are ready to grow through podcasting. All right. So today I'm going to be talking about 3 areas. Okay. So number 1, how to get invited as a guest on other podcasts and how to launch your own. Number 2, so that was like a double question or, 2-prong question. Number 2, how to find jobs or opportunities creating podcasts for others. And then lastly, in live podcasting, how it can be one of the most powerful lead generation tools for your business. Now, that's not how they asked the question, but that they wanted to know, the person wanted to know how can they, with a live podcast, how can they generate leads? That was basically the question. So whether you are brand new to this or you're already running your show, I really want you to just make sure that you have a notebook, something to write with, to take notes, and because this is going to be very powerful and it's going to connect the dots for you. All right. So question number 1 was, how do I get invited to be a guest on podcasts and how do I launch my own? All right. So we're going to take this in 2 parts. First part, how do I get invited to be on podcasts? And this is such a good question because even though I get this question all the time, there are a lot of usually when I answer the question, I may have some new insight on how to be a guest, right? So I absolutely love answering, these questions. And so the thing about being a guest is that, how can I say this? There are 2 sides to the same coin, okay? 2 sides to the same coin. And being a guest helps you to build visibility, authority, and credibility. Okay. So, and that also, you also get the same results when you launch your podcast. Okay. Let me just start with guesting. All right. So the truth, I hope you want the truth. So the truth is, you don't need to be famous to be featured. You just need to be focused. Okay. Write that one down. You got to be focused. Because you want to make sure, just like in business, you want to make sure you start by clarifying your core message. And if you already have a business and you are looking to supplement, your endeavors by being a guest so you can get discovered, so you can increase your visibility and your authority and your credibility by being a guest, then you do the same thing when you have a business. So hopefully this is not foreign to you, right? So it's like the same effort you're going to need to be focused, right? So you start by clarifying your core message and you ask yourself some questions. Okay. Starting with this question, 2 questions. Let me start this way. So what do I help people do? And why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because a lot of people, they want to start out with what they do, but sometimes it doesn't really matter to people. It's not that important. And when you don't know why it matters, then you're going to lose people. It's not going to hit the same way, right? So ask yourself, what do I help people do? And why does it matter? And if you need to go back to your business, if you have a business or coaching program or whatever it is you do for people, you want to make sure that you go back and review that as well, because this is going to help you in your podcasting and your business. And so when you can say that in one sentence, then you've got a good starting point. Okay. So that's number one. Then you want to create a simple one sheet media kit. Okay, a one sheet media kit. Don't make it complicated, right? It should include a short bio, 3 to 5 speaking topics, a few sample questions that you want the host to ask you. This is one of the things when I have a guest on my show, I always ask them, what are the 3 questions that you would like for me to ask you on the show? Now, it's normally conversational, but then there's sometimes there are things that, you want to make sure that you ask them, and they might want to make sure that you ask them as well, right? So that should be included on your media kit. The third thing, what is your preferred call to action? Because hopefully you're going to be on the show because you're looking to grow your business, build authority, like I said, credibility, all the things, right? And so you want to make sure that you include that in your media kit, like, download my free guide, join my community, whatever your call to action is, right? You want to make sure that you have that included in your media kit. Okay. All right. Now, this is very, very important. This next thing is very important because I get pitches all the time, like probably 3 to 4 times a week I get a pitch. Either it's someone wanting to be on my show, or they want to edit or promote my podcast or something, right? They're, want a gig, right? But here's the thing, connect with them before you pitch. That's where I'm going with this, because you can do a few things that tells the person that you're looking to be on their show with, the person that you want to be a guest on their show. You can go to their show and leave a review, or you can share their episode, or you can send a short, thoughtful email with a warm introduction. These things go a long way. And the point that I want to make with this is that connect before you pitch. The how can I say this? The one thing that is so irritating to me is when I get people, they don't even know me, right? And then they start pitching. Okay. And sometimes it's, might be their assistant, or they may have someone, a PR person or what have you, PR assistant, public relations assistant or what have you, pitching them on different podcasts. Now, personally, I usually interview my clients on my podcast. And the other thing is that I interview people that have a message that connects with my audience. I don't interview everybody. That's the thing. And so you want to make sure that you connect before you pitch. And this is something that people forget. This makes you more discoverable. There's some things that can make you more discoverable and more acceptable. I don't know if those are the right words, but more likely to be accepted as a good candidate to be on their podcast, right? When you do those things, a warm introduction, okay, not a pitch. But anyway, the other thing that people tend to forget is to make yourself discoverable, okay? Like you want to update your LinkedIn profile or your Instagram bio, all, the socials, and include things like, you're looking to be a podcast, you're available for interviews. Those simple tweaks can really change your visibility drastically, because I promise you this, the person that you're looking to be a guest on their podcast, they're going to go look at your socials if they're slightly interested and they don't block you. Because sometimes I'm going to tell you, when I don't, those that I don't have an interest at all in them being on my podcast, I may not block them, but I definitely will ignore them first. And if they continue to just, spam me with their request and their pitch, I will block them. So you don't want to annoy the person that, that you're wanting to be a guest on their podcast, right? So, but anyway, so those are some things that you can do, right away. So make sure that you do that, and that can change things dramatically. Now, if you're really ready to take control of your messaging, okay, this is a shameless plug, then you might be interested in jumping on a strategy call with me, and so that we can take a deeper dive into, how to make sure that you get that done. Maybe there's an audit or whatever. Maybe there is a matter of just kind of filling in the gap. The thing I always tell my clients is, to just start with your why. Why do you want to be a guest on their podcast, and why are you doing that? So make sure that, you do those things. Now, let's talk about launching your podcast. Just like I said before about, connecting and all of those things, then you want to make sure that you just connect all of the dots. So when you're launching your podcast, you also want to ask yourself the question, who are you called to serve, and what do you want to help them achieve? This should be tied to your business, period. If you have a business and you want that tied to your podcast, then once that is clear, then you're off to the races, right? Because you got to know who you're called to serve, and you got to know and communicate to them, what do you want to help them achieve? Because I promise you this, it is all about them and not you. Okay? There's that. Once that is clear, once you have done that with the media kit and answered those questions, you can just build from the inside out. Okay. And so one of the things that I help my clients do with my launch, host, and grow method is I help them to launch with a strategy and intention, host with clarity and consistency, and grow with systems that turn listeners into leads. And so when you are a guest on a podcast or a host, your visibility will multiply, because guesting builds your authority, hosting builds your community. And together, it's like closing that visibility loop. And maybe not closing it, but you can create a visibility loop. Because every time you appear on another show, you invite listeners, new listeners, back to your own. So it's like that visibility loop, right? So I hope that makes sense as far as podcast guesting and hosting your own podcast, right? So again, if you need, to take a deeper dive, you can get on a complimentary strategy call with me, and I'm happy to help you. All right. Okay, let's move on to question 2. So question 2 was, how do I find jobs creating podcasts for others? So the first thing I would say, because I really love this question, right? Because podcasting isn't just a platform, it's actually an entire industry. And this industry is booming. And so if you're looking to find a job creating a podcast for others, then that's an industry you want to jump into, like right now, right? And yes, you can absolutely build a business helping others to produce or manage your podcast, because here's the thing, podcasting has a lot of moving parts. And the quicker you can learn how to help someone else simplify or even just take it off of their to-do list, right, as far as, launching or creating a podcast, I'm telling you, you can make a career out of this. And so if you're skilled at editing or writing show notes and creating graphics or managing content, all of these are hireable skills. Okay. So, but here's where you want to start. So I'm going to give you like 5 places that you can start, or 5 things you can do to get started. Number 1, you want to decide what role you want. Do you want to be an editor? Do you want to be a launch strategist? Like, that's myself. I'm a launch strategist, right? Do you want to be a podcast manager? Okay, you can be a podcast manager. A lot of people, you are there are a plethora of roles that you can fill and help people to with their podcast. So you got to decide what role you want and just look it up. Just Google it or AI it or something, right? Number 2, you want to build your portfolio. Even if you only have done like mock projects, like maybe you've done some things for free, building your portfolio. Okay. You want to do some before and after samples, some audio clips, podcast graphics that you've designed, all of those things. After you've decided on what you want to build your portfolio. Then number 3, you want to get listed. You want to use platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, LinkedIn services, right? Niches, however you want to pronounce it. Niche platforms like Podmatch or Podcast VA Hub, where podcasters can actually look for help. Okay, so just check some of those platforms out once you decide on the role you want, and after you've built your portfolio, then you want to get listed. Okay. Number 4, you want to package your services. Please don't do this. Don't just sell your hours. Sell the outcomes. For example, a launch package might be 4 episodes, setup and strategy. That's an outcome. Editing bundle might be 8 episodes per month and show notes. A growth package might be repurposing, analytics, or publishing. Think about the outcome. You want to sell the outcome. Don't sell the features. Don't sell anything else about the outcome, because they don't care about anything else. What can you help me do? Right? What can you help me achieve? That's what they want to know. And then number 5, network and podcasting communities. Offer to do, mini audits, collaborate, share helpful insights. Podcast communities are they're on Facebook. You may be in, because I'm in, a community where I share helpful insights. On your LinkedIn profile, maybe, share helpful insights. You want to start doing those things, right? And so there are things that you can do to get your name out there. Okay. And finally, this is a bonus. Okay. Keep learning. Okay, never be the person that stops learning. And you can use, like, I can share with you some tools that I use to help my clients. I use Riverside, I use Cast Magic, I sometimes use Notion, but Riverside is my main, that's my main platform, right? And I'm constantly learning, okay? But doing these things can help you, make you faster, more professional, which means you can charge more eventually and serve better. Okay. That's the beauty of it is when you help others produce great shows, you don't just make more money, you build connections that lead to partnerships, referrals, and future collaborations. All right. So decide what role you want, build your portfolio, get listed, package your services, and then network. Okay. I also have a networking event that I host once a month. Come to that networking event, right? Because people are always looking for opportunities. Okay. All right. Question number 3. How does live podcasting work for lead generation? Okay. Now, this is where podcasting meets profit in real time. You want your podcast to profit in real time, then live podcasting or going live where you record your show, that can be a game changer because it creates urgency and connection. People love being a part of something that's happening now. All right. So how do you do that? You might be asking, okay, Aldreama, that's wonderful. How do you do that? Okay. Plan. So I'm going to give you 3 tips. Plan a live series or event. That's one of the things that I do. And I do this on Eventbrite. Announce it like you would a webinar or a masterclass. If you're watching this right now, you are a part of what I do strategically. Okay. Use Eventbrite, your email, and your social media to promote it. Like I'm just giving you, I'm giving you the play right here. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, choose your tools. Platforms like Riverside, or even there's other platforms where you can do things live. But again, I use Riverside. That's my preferred platform. But you can use, StreamYard or whatever, Ecamm Live, whatever platform you prefer to broadcast on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on Facebook. You can still do those type of things, right? So choose your tools. Okay. Number three, you can use and this is a shameless plug, okay? My Launch, Host, and Grow funnel, okay? This is where I help my clients, right? So I help you to launch your podcast because I'm a podcast launch strategist, okay? I help you to host your events, okay? Or show you how to host your own events, right? And then grow by connecting that to your email list. So growing your business and or podcast, because it's both, it's an ecosystem, right? So you grow it by creating your email list. Because here's what you got to remember. Your email list does not depend on algorithms, right? Once someone subscribes, they want to hear from you. All right. So that's my Launch, Host, and Grow funnel. But here's the thing, call to action is the key. Every time you go live, or every live session, whether it's a masterclass or whether it's a social post, and I would be careful about social posts because you do want to have, like a variety, but everything that you do to promote your podcast, you want to have a call to action. On your podcast, have a call to action. On your event, have a call to action. In your email, have a call to action. Now, I'm stressing this. You want to be strategic and you don't want to be annoying, right? But call to action is definitely the key to getting your clients. It's not about just one of those things. It's about all three of those things working together to create your ecosystem. So the email list, all of those things, the event, the email list, and the podcast is an ecosystem. So now, all right, so I'm going to land the plane. This is how I get my leads, and this is what I teach people in my Launch, Host, and Grow methodology. Live podcasting is not just about being seen. It's about being strategic. It gives you visibility and credibility and a real-time pipeline for leads. Okay, so let's recap, and then I'm going to let you go because you're probably ready to go, right? Because I've given you what you needed, right? So guesting helps you to expand your reach. Producing podcasts, I just want to make sure that I recap with what I just shared with you, answering your questions. So guesting helps you to expand your reach. So does launching your podcast. Okay. That was the first question. Producing podcasts for others helps you build revenue, right? And then live podcasting helps you to generate leads and strengthen those relationships, especially when it comes to building your email list. That is what builds and strengthens your relationships. Now, each of these strategies can't stand alone, right? You have to combine them to create your ecosystem. Okay. Now, that is what I teach in my Launch, Host, and Grow methodology. That's the framework. Okay. Now, that's it. That's really it. So if you want to jump on a call with me for a complimentary strategy call, then the link will be available. Okay. The link will be available where you can grab your strategy call. Okay. But I want to leave you with this. Remember, your voice isn't just a tool, it's a seed. So you plant it with intention, you nurture it with consistency, and you watch it grow into impact, influence, and income. Okay? Now, I always try to make sure I have a scripture for you. And one of my favorite scriptures is from Proverbs 16:3, because it reminds us, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. So if this sparked some new ideas for you, I'd love to invite you again to jump on a call with me. You never know what will happen on the call, right? But on the call, you'll discover how to take what we just talked about today into a repeatable system. Okay? Now, that's it. That's it. No more plugs. No more shameless plugs, all right? Until next time, stay organized, stay inspired, and keep using your voice to make an impact. I hope to see you on the next masterclass, on the next podcast, on the next training. All right? Have an amazing day. God bless.